You ready? Yeah. Okay.
Met her on my CB, said her name was Mimi, sounded like an angel come to earth. But when I went to meet her, man, you should have seen her, twice as tall as me, 3 times the girl. Oh, my fat baby loves to eat. A big old Buddha belly and her breast swing past her feet. My fat baby loves to eat. My big old fat ass baby loves to eat.
Yo, what is up guys, this is TyrannixSwan here and welcome to another game review. This time I'm going to be reviewing A Way Out, a cooperative action-adventure game developed by Hazelight Studios. Now the story takes place in the year 1972 where we are introduced to two middle-aged men named Leo and Vincent who have been imprisoned. The two men meet by random circumstances, and funny enough they both have the same problem outside of prison. So, the two men make an uneasy alliance so they can break out and get revenge on the man who ruined both of their lives. Now, A Way Out's story is very simple, but very fun to experience. The fact that you see these two men who both have the same situation outside of prison have to make an uneasy alliance so they can break out and fulfill their revenge and everything, I thought this whole journey was actually very fun to be on, especially since you are playing this game primarily with another friend. So it isn't just one person being yourself who is experiencing the journey, you and another friend also get to experience the journey and see these characters grow together as they form a newfound trust throughout the whole game as it goes on. And in my opinion, the pacing of the whole story is really well done. The fact that the slower sequences where you're trying to do certain things or do puzzles or having to figure stuff out are broken up nicely with faster, quicker sequences where you're doing car chases or you're running after somebody you need to get, or you have like gunfights or like motorcycle chases. I like how the game does split up the whole story in these little sequences so it can keep you entertained and that it doesn't slow down. And the game never really does slow down, as there's a lot of things in this game I never really expected. Even though this is a story-driven game and it's very linear, it does a lot for you in the amount of time that it pretty much goes on for. And most of these sequences themselves really stood out for me. You could remember each of these sort of sections and be like, yeah, that was actually a very fun portion of the game. And despite the fact that the game was advertised as being this whole big prison breakout game, the whole prison break section is only like a quarter of the game, but honestly, I didn't feel bad about that. I thought that would disappoint me, even though it was actually a pretty interesting prison break sequence since Leo and Vincent didn't really have much of a plan. They pretty much made the whole thing up as they went along, as they encountered new problems and had to do other things so they could find a way to get out and overcome these problems. I really liked this section. It was very interesting, but it's the fact that even the stuff outside of the whole prison section kept me entertained, like the fact that you have a gas station robbery. Oh my god!
Fucking hell.
Jesus.
I'm just gonna go. You know what? I'm getting
God damn it, Leo.
You see this? It looks like a gun, but it isn't. It's the key to the register. So fucking open it.
Messing around on some person's farm, having like a big ass hospital chase scene, trying to escape an assassin's attempt on your life, pretty much going to the main villain's compound and taking out all of his dudes. This game keeps you entertained throughout it all, even past the main advertised part of the game, which is the whole prison section. And that's what I think the game has done really impressively well. I mean, there was even a torture scene in this whole game, and I was kind of surprised to see this. I mean, yeah, it's not like GTA 5 levels of torture, but I still liked how there was a few options of like tools that you can like hurt the guy with, even though it didn't feel like you did too much of him, it just felt more like you were threatening him. But I'm still surprised to see stuff like that in this game. And the characters of Leo and Vincent was done incredibly well too. I mean, the fact that you see these characters develop over time was just done really good. I mean, the fact that they start out not really trusting each other at all and like having great snappy jokes at them, which obviously was throughout the whole game, but it's like they they would become more sarcastic and funny and more friendly in a way. But you see these two form a bond of trust because they have the same problem outside the prison, which gives them both incentives to work together even if they don't really like each other. But you can obviously see the bond grow between the two of them as they get closer and closer to the final destination they're heading towards, and that the fact that they're even able to say certain things that they probably would never have said to him, like stuff about their family and all that, and their history and their background. They probably would never have said that if they hadn't got to know each other. But it's just the fact is that these guys were, the characterization and personalities of them just built so much over time, and you just grew to like them as characters because you play them themselves, and you also get to like feel for them because they both have something that they're fighting for. They both have families and everything that they are trying to help out or keep safe because of this whole situation. And throughout the whole game, it always kept me wondering how the story was going to end. The fact that the whole game is based around this cooperative gameplay with your partner and everything, it made me think how the story was going to end for these guys. Were they going to die in their suicide mission against the main villain? Was either one of them going to die in the whole event? But the fact that you actually kill the villain and then come back unscathed, that did sort of threw me in a bit of a loop and made me think, okay, so how is this going to end? And I thought, oh, we might actually have a happy ending. But no, and this is probably a very big plot twist that might have been a bit obvious to some people, but to me, and even my friend, when we played this, completely caught us by goddamn surprise. And the big surprise is that the whole frigging game, Vincent was actually a cop in disguise so that he could help Leo escape, so they could both bring down Harvey, and Vincent could arrest Harvey for like killing his brother in this whole setup operation that they were trying to do. And this surprised the hell out of me. It surprised both of us. And then the game ends with the fact that Vincent and Leo have to fight each other to the death pretty much. And that's gotta suck ass immensely. Especially by the fact that both players have been playing these characters throughout the whole game, bonding over them, seeing how their characters develop, and then the fact that you have to fight each other, like one of us has to be taken out, and that hurt a lot, because there's no happy ending here. There's only an ending for Vincent or Leo, but one of the characters has to die, and that's it. No character here gets a happy ending. Both of these guys, no matter what, will feel guilty with the end result, no matter what. And both of these endings are emotional as hell. They're sad to see, like, the two guys who broke out of prison and worked together to take down this guy who had wrecked their lives and end up fighting each other to the death in the end is just such a sad thing to see. And since I'd literally completed Nier Automata not too long ago when I played this, it just reminded me of that again too, because of the fact that the game ends with two characters you play as fighting each other. It just gave me the same exact feeling, and I was like, oh shit. And I just really didn't want this sort of thing to happen. I was like, oh shit. And the whole fight sequence just made me feel bad because of the fact that I was playing Vincent. Just made me feel even worse because I was like, oh shit, I was a guy in disguise the whole time. I was like, I felt like an asshole for everything. But yeah, the way this game ends, the whole plot twist and everything was just done beautifully. And also the side characters help out a little too. I mean, you have Leo and Vincent's families to give you a bit more of a emotional feeling towards these two guys, since they actually have something worth fighting for. True, they might act a little bit like assholes from time to time, but you can tell from their interactions with their families and everything, they actually are decent guys, that they aren't really bad. They've just been like put into a bad situation and everything. However, I will admit, Harvey being the main villain isn't all interesting at all. He just feels like a dude who's there for plot devices and everything. But for the way this game is, since it's mainly a character-driven experience as you see Leo and Vincent grow as characters, I can sort of let that slide a little, as this game mainly focuses on them two, and that's purely what it's for. I mean, the fact that we don't get a strong villain, I mean, for a game like this, we didn't necessarily need it. And I have to credit the voice acting too. It was great. Leo and Vincent were both good voice actors. Whoever voiced them did a great job, as you can definitely see the difference in characters. Leo was a bit abrasive and quite loud and open to everything, whilst Vincent was a bit laid back and sort of took things a bit more slowly and in more of an approaching way. And it sort of showed the differences between the two characters. But I feel like with the way Vincent was, when the plot twist came in, it made me feel like, so it was kind of like an act the whole time. So, because Vincent was a little bit flat at times with his emotional range, but it made sense for the fact that he was putting on an act the whole time. But the voice acting was really good, and you just really, the way these characters are, and the jokes and everything, the commentary and everything was done really well. Now, amongst all the variety of instances that happen within the game, what surprised me the most is the fact is how interactive the game is. Throughout the more open, walking about sort of level sections, there is a lot of things you can interact with, and this was actually very nice to see, as there are many examples to choose from. Some very good examples would be like when you're at the farmhouse and you can like play a guitar, play around on the piano, look around the whole place, like sitting down on a sofa, like checking in people's fridges and seeing if they have anything. There's so many things you can just interact with in this one whole sequence, and it just doesn't stop there. When you're in the trailer park, you can play around with some baseball and try and get a home run.
Damn it!
What the hell?
Too early.
Boom!
Hey!
Missed it.
Curveball.
Or when you're in the prison, you can mess around with some weights. Or when you're at the trailer park once again at Leo's home, you can mess around with some darts. Or you can help Leo's wife trying to fix a motorcycle. Or whilst you're in the hospital rushing to get to Vincent's newborn baby, you can mess around on some fun games like Connect 4 with your buddy, which is actually really funny to see there for some odd reason. Or you can mess around in some wheelchairs trying to do like a wheelie and see how long you can keep that up. This game has such a lot of small things in it, just so good.
What am I doing?
What?
The last time I did this, I was in high school.
Oh! Alright. Maybe not.
At least I didn't follow my ass that time.
Hell, you can even play a table tennis version of Pong, which is kind of a bit difficult to get used to at first, but it was really a lot of fun. Small instances like this made the whole game feel much bigger and more alive, and it just kept you entertained for so long. I mean, you could literally spend God knows how long doing these small games and forget about the whole game until you then remember that you are playing like a sort of a game like this, and then you're just like, oh shit, these little small things will keep you distracted, but they are so entertaining. Also, the way the game works is also pretty damn genius. The fact that you can see not just your screen, but your other friend's screen. It shows that you can both help out in different situations, as Vincent and Leo both have different things to do. They have their own objectives and routes to take, and obviously since you have each other's backs to look over, you can help each other out if you start getting into bad situations or you don't know what you're doing. And throughout the whole game, until the very end where you have to battle each other, teamwork is such an essential part of this game. You will always be talking to each other, trying to make sure you're doing the right thing. And one bit in particular is during the whole prison break sequence, and that's when you're trying to break out of your cell by creating a sort of escape hatchway through the back of your toilet in your cell. And I like how it's not just one of you that has to do it, both of you have to do it. So whilst one of you is trying to create the escape area, one of you has to keep a lookout for any guards who will come by and see what you're doing. And this is such an intense moment because I didn't know how bad the checkpoints would be. I felt like this whole sequence, if it messed up, it would go right back to the beginning. And yes, it's a fairly long sequence, I will admit, but it's so intense. The fact that if your buddy messes up, you have to do it all over again. And yeah, it's just so... It's like this game... I've never really felt like a game has done this sort of exhilarance for me before. And what I extremely like is the fact that the game never breaks this at all. Every single sequence in the game has to be based around you and your buddy working together. I mean, the chase scenes, one of you has to like drive a vehicle while one of you is like shooting at the enemies whilst they're coming after you. There's like a section where you're in a boat on the river and both of you have to steer the boat, kind of like real life kayaking, which is kind of funny. And there are even decisions in this game where it's like Leo's way or Vincent's way. Both players have to agree on which decision to go for. And I really love that. It's like the players will probably take their time in discussing which is the best route to go for, and then they'll eventually agree what to go for. And I really like that. It's not something you really see much, and I wasn't really expecting to be many decisions in this game at all. I wasn't expecting a whole decision like mechanic, and there actually was, and it's actually based on the players actually agreeing what to go for. I thought that was actually pretty smart. Something else I also really liked is the game sometimes changes perspectives. You're not always in the whole like split screen kind of look where you see your player and the other friend's player. There is moments in the game where it sort of changes its whole viewpoint. There's a section where you're chasing after a dude and it's like a sort of top-down position. I really thought that was kind of surprising to see. But I also like when there's like a specific important cutscene, it cuts to that player and it sort of just has the other player just like watching that cutscene too. So it's kind of funny when that sort of happens. It's like when one person discovers something and then a screen just comes full with that player's viewpoint. You're like, oh, well, shit, something's happened, I guess. And one part I really did like with this whole changing camera perspective is the whole hospital chase sequence when Vincent and Leo have to get away from the cops after this nice touching moment with Vincent and his newborn baby. It's the fact that the whole camera keeps changing from Vincent's position at some point and it goes to Leo's position at another point until you both reconnect at the very end. This is probably one of the best parts of the game when you're just seeing the perspective of one person and then that player is controlling that guy and it changes to the other player and then that player has to control that guy in that sequence. I thought that was really entertaining to see and it was very well done in how that worked. And of course you do see your quick time events from time to time, but surprisingly enough they weren't that often as much as I thought. They were only around when you're doing like fist fighting and that's pretty much it. Other than that, there really wasn't many quick time events as I was expecting to see in this game. They're very spread out throughout the whole levels and everything. So yeah, most of the time you're pretty much walking around or like sort of doing something that has to require both players to do something, or you're just doing this little menial task. But quick time events aren't actually very common throughout this game, which surprised me. And because of the fact that the game relies entirely on the fact that it's driven by teamwork between the two players, I think that's what makes the final battle just even more emotional and sad, is the fact that, yeah, you and your buddy have been working together throughout the whole game, and then you basically have to face off with each other to see who's the better shooter or anything, and you're just like, well, what an ending. I didn't really think this is how it would go down. Now, the graphics were really damn nice, and I like that it's set in the 70s and it makes you feel like you're in the 70s. The fact that you see certain things like the old-time cars, modern buildings you see today being built in construction sites, a lot of the outfits and the clothes people wore from the 70s, and just like the whole style and everything, even the cars themselves, it all looked so nice and the attention to detail was so great. I mean, there were some parts of the game that I really loved to see, like the whole like mountainous wildlife area after you've escaped the prison, and the way the run-down, rusty look of the trailer park was also pretty damn nice, and just the whole, like, the weather effects and the rain going down on the characters during the final battle and everything. It set the mood of the whole scene just really well, and the graphics really do make the game look really damn nice. Even the soundtrack itself was done pretty damn well. Even though most of the time I was concentrating on the game, I did have a listen afterwards, and there was quite a lot of dark, somber tones within the music. But there also feels like there's an element of hope as parts of the soundtracks build up as it goes on, making you think like these guys will actually get like the happy ending they deserve. And then, yeah, then the whole emotional scenes happen, and then you have this slow, heavy, emotional feel that just gives you that sort of sadness that you just didn't want to happen, and it happens. But I do like how the music changes for like the chase sequences, where it becomes a lot more faster with the beats and everything. The music really does fit for all the bits that happen within the game. Now to finish it off, there is a few things here and there that were a bit off or just didn't seem right. Now definitely one thing for sure is that the loading is long as hell. It does take its time and it can be a little bit annoying, especially when it transitions between scenes where something shocking may have happened and then you have to wait like a minute or two for the next scene and you're like, god damn, just hurry up already. I mean, that's probably the biggest concern of the game, and that might have been it, but there is a few other things as well. Like the way the combat works, I mean, there's only one specific sequence where you really are fighting against other enemies. I thought it was okay, but I felt like the whole way the AI works, they weren't too great because they would mainly come at you and weren't really great at staying in cover. But they were damn pinpoint accurate with their shots sometimes, and you would die pretty damn quickly if you didn't get into cover quick enough. But the AI wasn't always brilliant, at least when it came to the certain bits like when you have the security guards and everything who had their select paths to go on. At least they worked properly, but I'm really glad this game didn't really focus on the combat, because when it came to fighting against Harvey, all you would do is be in this big room fighting a few henchmen and he'd fire a grenade launcher and that's it, and they didn't really hit their mark most of the time. So the boss battle, if it is a boss battle, if you can count that, wasn't exactly exhilarating. But nonetheless, despite a few small problems, this game was highly entertaining and really fun to do. I'm clocking in about 8 to 9 hours when it comes to playing the game full on. It might be a bit longer depending on how much you mess around with all the other stuff in between, but this game was highly entertaining. It was really fun. It had great characters, a well enough story, good music, graphics look great, the different sort of sequences that keep you entertained throughout the whole game. This was really well done, especially considering this has EA's name on it, which you completely forget about when you play the game and think, shit. Well, all you really give a damn about is Hazelight, but nonetheless, overall, I'm going to give A Way Out hopefully more games like this will come about in the future. I'm really glad it didn't sort of set itself up for a sequel. I'm really glad it ended in a way where it feels like it's just its own thing, and that's it. Really well done, and Hazelight have done a fantastic job on this game, for damn sure. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Leave a like down below, subscribe, comment on what you think of the game, comment on other games you think I could do, share this video on social media, and I shall see you guys in the next random video.